Ao thought that getting married to Ifunanya would be like living inside a sweet dream. He used to tell his friends, "Not my Ifunanya. She is too gentle to quarrel with anyone." But 3 months after the wedding, Ao discovered something he never expected. He had not just married Ifunanya. He had also married her fears. Ifunanya was a soft-looking woman with skin that shone like palm oil in sunlight. She prayed every day, sang loud songs at night, and carried a small gourd of blessed water wherever she went. She believed everything that went wrong was a hidden enemy's work. If the kerosene stove refused to light, she said it was an attack. If the goat outside cried too long, she said it was a warning. If she sneezed twice in the market, she believed someone was cursing her. All her life, she had been taught that the world was full of invisible dangers. Her grandmother in Uromi had raised her in a small river shrine where people feared dreams, shadows, and whispers in the dark. By the time she turned 17, Ifunanya could stay awake 3 nights without food, just singing and clapping in war prayers. When she met Ao, the quiet son of a fisherman, she thought the gods had finally smiled at her. He was humble, didn't drink palm wine, didn't chase women, and didn't shout. Most of all, he didn't question her beliefs. So, their marriage began with laughter, joy, and happiness. But then Mama Ao came. Mama was supposed to stay for only 2 weeks to help them settle. But the day she arrived with her basket of fruits, crayfish, her broom, and her cracked calabash, Ifunanya felt her skin crawl. She whispered to Ao that night, "Your mother carries strange winds. I do not trust the spirit in her eyes." Ao laughed and kissed her forehead. "She is my mother, not a masquerade. Stop worrying." But Ifunanya could not stop. She began to watch Mama carefully. She complained that Mama swept the compound too early. She said Mama's midnight humming sounded like incantations. One evening she cried and said, "When I yawned, she touched my chest. Since then, I feel cold in my bones." O was torn. His mother was hard-working and quiet. She helped wash clothes, cooked food, and never shouted. But Ifunanya's suspicion grew like weeds after rain. She even dropped a prayer request on the church WhatsApp group. "Please pray with me. I feel a dark cloud since Mama entered our house." Soon, their small house was no longer a home. It became a battleground of silence, suspicion, and whispered prayers. Ao did not know it yet, but the real war had only just begun. The morning after Mama arrived, Ifunanya woke up late. The sun was already high, and the smell of hot pap and akara filled the air. She stepped into the parlor and froze. Mama was sweeping the floor, her wrapper tied tight, humming an old Igbo hymn in a slow rhythm. Ifunanya's stomach tightened. She stood still, staring. Mama looked up and smiled warmly. "My daughter, you are awake. Sit and eat before the pap and akara becomes cold." But Ifunanya didn't move. Her eyes darted to the small gourd on the table. "What is that for?" she asked sharply. Mama chuckled. "Ah, this. It is only palm oil mixed with herbs. I rub it on my knees so they won't pain me when I farm." Ifunanya swallowed hard. To her it looked like charm. She picked her spoon carefully, dipped it into the pap, and whispered a prayer under her breath before eating. That evening the quarrels began. "Ifunanya," Mama called, "don't use too much salt in the soup. It is not good for the body." Ifunanya dropped the spoon loudly. "Mama, are you the one cooking or me? Why are you touching my pot every time?" Mama blinked in surprise. "I only advised. It is small thing." But to Ifunanya it was not small. She stormed into the bedroom, tears running down her face. When Ao came back from mending his fishing net, she wailed, "Your mother is monitoring me. She wants to take over my home." Ao rubbed his head with both hands. "Ifunanya, why do you think like this? She is just trying to help." But Ifunanya would not listen. That night, she poured salt in the 4 corners of the parlor and sprinkled her blessed holy water on Mama's chair. She stood barefoot in the center of the room, clapping and praying loudly. Mama sat in the kitchen, peeling yams silently, pretending not to hear. The next day, neighbors started whispering. "That new bride, she prays like she is chasing spirits," one woman said. Another laughed. "Her mother-in-law only sweeps and sings, but she has already turned her into a witch." The whispers only made Ifunanya angrier. She began to accuse Mama of everything. If the oil lamp went off, it was Mama's spirit. If the goat refused to eat, it was Mama that caused it. One afternoon, she confronted Mama directly. "Why do you pray in the night with your candle? Why do you touch me when I yawn? Why do you stare at me when I sleep?" Mama dropped her broom slowly and looked at her. "My daughter, I am old. I pray because prayer is the only thing I have left. If I touch you, it is because I see you as my child. But if my presence troubles your spirit, say it plain." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were heavy with sadness. That night, Mama packed her small bag quietly. When Ao returned, she told him gently, "My son, I know when my presence is no longer welcome at a place. Let me go back to my house. At least, nobody will call me witch." Ao's heart broke in two. When Mama left, the house felt empty like a drum without sound. First, Ifunanya was happy. She sang louder during her prayers, poured oil more boldly, and even danced around the parlor declaring victory. But slowly, strange things began to happen. Ao's fishing nets tore every time he cast them into the river. 3 days in a row, he returned home with no fish. "This has never happened before," he muttered, his face dark with worry. The next week, he was promised work on a big boat by the river master. But on the very morning he was to start, the master's son came instead and took the spot. Ao stood there helpless, feeling shame burn in his chest. Ifunanya was quick to speak. "I told you. Since your mother left, her spirit is fighting us from afar. Do you see now? This is not ordinary." Ao frowned deeply. "My mother is not a spirit. She is only a widow in her house. Why must you blame her for everything?" But Ifunanya would not stop. She began to dream strange dreams. At least that was what she said. She claimed to see Mama standing by the river, washing her hands in a bowl and laughing like a crow. She said she saw shadows crawling under their bed at night. Every morning, she would tell Ao her dreams with trembling lips. "Your mother is tying my womb. She is the reason no child has come yet. She is the reason your nets bring no fish." First, Ao tried to argue. But as the days went by, his own troubles grew heavier. His small canoe cracked into two. His money vanished after a careless thief stole his bag in the market. Even his body felt tired, as if the river had cursed him. One evening, he came home and saw Ifunanya barefoot, circling the parlor with hot pepper and charcoal, chanting in her grandmother's tongue. Her eyes were red and sweat rolled down her face. "Every hand that ties my womb, every eye that watches my husband's work, catch fire," she shouted. Ao's heart sank. He watched his wife pacing like a storm, her wrapper loose, her face twisted with fear. He wanted to pull her close to calm her, but he felt powerless. Later that night, as he lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "If this continues, I will lose both my wife and my mother, one to suspicion, the other to sorrow." But Ifunanya was not done. The next Sunday she carried Mama's old picture, which Mama had forgotten in the house, to her prayer group. She spread it on the church floor, stood barefoot on it and cried, "Every hidden enemy, every woman with a smile but wicked heart, release my marriage, release my children, release my womb." The people shouted Amen with fiery voices. But Ao, who stood at the back watching, felt tears sting his eyes. His mother was being cursed in absentia, and his wife was drowning in suspicion. He knew then, peace would never return to his home unless something drastic happened. The next morning, Ao made up his mind. He told Ifunanya, "I have a retreat by the river for 7 days. While I'm gone, you will stay with Mama." Ifunanya's eyes widened. "What? You want me to live with a witch?" Ao spoke calmly. "You say you have power. Then face her. If she is evil, your prayers will protect you. If not, you will see truth with your eyes." Tears filled Ifunanya's face. She shook her head, but Ao was firm. By dawn, he carried her bag into the canoe. Mama was waiting at the shore. When Ao left them at the shore, Ifunanya's heart pounded like a talking drum. Mama stood quietly, leaning on her walking stick, the river breeze lifting the edges of her wrapper. She smiled faintly and said, "Welcome, my daughter. Let us go home." Ifunanya followed slowly, her eyes darting at every movement, half expecting shadows to crawl out of the bushes. Inside Mama's house, the smell of smoked fish and firewood greeted her. Everything was simple: a bed, a small pot bubbling with soup. Mama placed a bowl before her. "Eat, you must be hungry." Ifunanya hesitated. She stared at the soup as though it carried poison. "I am not hungry," she whispered. Mama said nothing. She simply covered the bowl and began humming again, the same old hymn that once made Ifunanya uneasy. That night, Ifunanya lay on the bed, eyes wide, unable to sleep. She kept glancing at Mama, who sat by the small bed. The flames danced on her face, making her look both gentle and mysterious. Ifunanya pulled her head tighter and muttered prayers under her breath until sleep dragged her away. Dawn, Mama woke early. She swept the compound, fetched water from the stream, and returned with firewood balanced neatly on her head. Ifunanya watched in silence, guilt nibbling at her chest. For an old woman, Mama moved with strength, her face calm, her lips whispering small prayers. Later Mama said, "Come, let us go to the farm." Ifunanya frowned. "Farm? Why should I go?" "Because the earth teaches patience," Mama replied softly. They went together. Mama bent low, her hands busy among the yam mounds. Ifunanya stood, arms folded. But soon the sun grew hot, and reluctantly she knelt to help. The soil was rough, but the more she touched it, the lighter her heart became. She glanced at Mama, who smiled without words. Days passed this way. Ifunanya still whispered prayers at night, but she began to notice things she had never seen before. How Mama prayed gently before eating, how she gave half her food to a hungry child passing by, how she laughed softly with neighbors. One evening, rain began to fall. Mama rushed to bring in her drying cassava, and without thinking, Ifunanya jumped up to help. They worked together, both laughing as the rain soaked their cloth. For the first time, Ifunanya felt something shift, something warm and strange. That night, lying on the bed, she whispered to herself, "Could it be? I was wrong." The rain did not stop. For 3 days, the sky poured like a broken calabash. The river swelled, rushing angrily, and the village paths turned into streams. On the 4th night, as thunder roared, a loud knock rattled Mama's house. Ifunanya jumped, fear clutching her chest. Mama opened the door, and 2 children stumbled in, shivering, their clothes dripping wet. "Our father is stuck," one cried. "The river took his canoe." Mama's eyes widened. Without hesitation, she grabbed her wrapper, tied it tightly, and ran out into the storm. Ifunanya, though afraid, followed behind. By the riverbank, they saw a man clinging to a broken canoe, the water dragging him away. Villagers gathered, shouting in panic, but none dared enter the raging current. Mama did not wait. She picked a long bamboo pole and waded into the water, her frail body shaking but steady. "Hold!" she shouted. The man stretched weakly, and with one final push, Mama hooked the pole to his arm. Together with the villagers, they pulled him out of the river. Ifunanya's heart pounded as she watched Mama collapse, gasping for breath, rain washing over her tired face. The rescued man cried, "Mama saved me. She risked her life." The villagers began to murmur. Some bowed their heads, others lifted their hands, blessing Mama. Ifunanya stood frozen, shame burning her throat. This was no witch. This was a woman who carried kindness in her bones. That night, as Mama lay weak on her bed, Ifunanya sat by her side, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mama," she whispered, voice trembling, "I have wronged you." Mama opened her eyes slowly, smiling faintly. Ao's wife, you are my daughter. Fear blinded you, but truth always shines. The river does not refuse those who draw with clean hands. Ifunanya sobbed quietly. For the first time, she reached out and held Mama's hand. It was rough from years of labor, yet warm like a hearth fire. Days later, when the rain stopped and the sun returned, Ifunanya knelt in the small compound. "Forgive me, please forgive me, Mama," she said aloud. "I judged you without knowing your heart." Mama placed her wrinkled hand on her head and prayed softly. "Peace return to your home. May your womb open, may your joy overflow." Ifunanya felt something break inside her. Not pain but release. And in that moment she knew. Mama was not her enemy. Mama was her covering. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and never stop believing in second chances. Hey my beautiful people, thank you so much for watching. Your support truly means the world to me. If you enjoy watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's grow this community together. See you. I appreciate you and I am so grateful you're here.